A Tale for Halloween by Loretta Ellen Brady. Babette and Anton were the children of a very poor woodcutter. They lived in a little cottage on the side of a steep mountain, and the mountain looked upon a great forest. Now, though their father toiled in this forest from dawn until dark, he could earn but little. Wood in that region was plentiful, and woodcutters were numerous. Their mother made fine laces which Anton carried to the market to sell. But in spite of all their efforts, the poor parents seldom could give their children more than bread and broth to eat. Often, indeed, the broth was lacking if the woodcutter found no hare in the traps he set. Babette and Anton, however, were happy little children and never thought of their poverty. But it worried the woodcutter that Anton was 10 years old and had not yet gone to school. Anton's mother taught him to read and write, that the other boys and girls would not be too far beyond him, and Anton studied his lessons diligently. Often, as he sat doing his sums on a hearthstone with a bit of charcoal for a pencil, his mother would sigh sadly. Anton did not like his mother to be sad, and so he always laughed to cheer her. "Never fear, mother," he would say. "Soon I shall send myself to school. My vegetable patch does finely. Then, when I am a great scholar, you shall be poor no longer. My father shall have a team of oxen, and you a fine satin gown. Babette shall have a dozen real dollies instead of the turnip dollies she now rocks in her dolly cradle." "Ah, Anton, my son," his mother would answer with a sigh, "unless you make your fortune as a maker of toys, I fear you will have no fortune at all. Your fingers are as clever as a wizard's even now, and though you are past 10, we cannot spare you to go to school." It was true, as she said. Anton made boats from bits of cedar wood, and when he had fitted them with sails, you could not tell them from any that had come out of a shop. He carved a doll's cradle from a pine knot, and for a dolly painted the white face of a turnip until one would think it was the face of some fair maiden. So blue were this turnip dolly's eyes, and so pink her cheeks. Her hair of golden corn silk fell in such waves, and her robe of young cabbage leaves was so green and beautiful. Then, as often as this turnip dolly faded and began to shrivel, Anton made another, which Babette declared was always more beautiful than the one before. Babette had never been to the village, and therefore knew nothing of real dollies. She loved her turnip babies tenderly indeed. She always carried them in her arm when she went with Anton to meet their father, and sang them little songs as she rocked them to sleep. Now, it happened one night in the season of Halloween that Anton sat carving jack-o'-lanterns to sell in the village. Babette, who was rocking her dolly to sleep, sat watching him. Being but 6, she knew nothing but about the fun which comes with Halloween, and so she listened round-eyed with wonder to Anton, who knew all things about jack-o'-lanterns. When she heard that boys and girls dressed like goblins and witches frolicked in the village streets, Babette made up her mind to frolic too. "How fine it must be!" she cried, clapping her hands. "Halloween must be quite like Christmas." "Not quite so fine as Christmas, Babette," answered Anton, as he carved the teeth in the last jack-o'-lantern. "But Halloween is very fine nevertheless. It is comical to see the jack-o'-lanterns bobbing up and down, with their faces grinning in the candlelight. And on Halloween, the boys and girls play pranks on their elders that they would be well switched for at any other time. But everyone laughs and is happy on that night." Anton finished the jack-o'-lantern and piled it with a dozen more in his little cart. He would sell them all in the village when he took his vegetables to market the next day. No one else could carve such splendid pumpkin faces as Anton. "Then let us go and play pranks in the village too, Anton," cried Babette. "Mother will make us goblin dresses, and there is still one great pumpkin in your garden for a jack-o'-lantern. Oh, what frolic we shall have!" "Babette!" exclaimed Anton in astonishment. "Wherever did you get such a notion? The frolic in the village is not for us. Mother has no time to make us goblin dresses, and if she did, she has no goods. Besides, how should we find our way home through the forest?" "You know the way through the forest, Anton," insisted Babette, "and if mother cannot make us goblin dresses, we can go without. It will be dark, and our jack-o'-lantern will be as fine as any." Do come, she begged. I've never been to a Halloween frolic. Now, Babette, I tell you, we cannot go to the village tomorrow night, answered Anton. I could not find my way home through the forest after dark, and we would both be lost. Be a good girl and do not tease any more. Anton spoke sternly, and Babette burst into tears. She was very fond of her own way, and when she could not have it, sometimes she was a very naughty little girl. She sobbed and wept so piteously that Anton found it hard to refuse her. However, he dared not go to the village at night, as he feared to lose his way in the forest. So Anton trotted Babette on his knee and whispered that he would buy her chocolate, but she only wept the harder. Now, Babette, cried Anton at last, when Babette showed no signs of stopping, I cannot take you to the village. But if you're a good girl and stop crying at once, I will make a little Halloween frolic just for you and me. Now promise me you will not cry any more. Babette dried her eyes and promised. She wished a Halloween frolic, but whether she frolicked at home or in the village mattered not at all. Will we wear goblin dresses or ghost dresses, Anton? She asked. Anton puzzled a moment before he answered. Oh, ghost dresses, I think, said he. The next day, Babette was very good. She helped Anton gather his vegetables for market, and when he returned, sat beside him quietly while he carved the last pumpkin from his garden. When the jack-o'-lantern was finished, Anton lighted the candle just for 1 second so that she might see it grinning in the light. Babette clapped her hands, but he held up a warning finger. The Halloween frolic was to be a secret. After supper, the children went to bed as usual, but instead of undressing, they pulled their white night dresses over their heavy coats. They will do for ghost dresses, whispered Anton when all was still, and they crept softly out. In the moonlight, the jack-o'-lantern was grinning broadly to greet them. Pumpkin is smiling at us, laughed Babette. She was very happy, for her frolic was about to begin. Anton struck a match to light the candle, but there was no candle in the jack-o'-lantern. I put the candle in, I know I did, said he in surprise. He searched in the dark, and Babette stopped her laughing. Anton looked about, and there, beneath the bench, lay the remainder of his precious candle. It was chewed to bits, and the wick was in shreds. Oh, Babette, cried he, a wicked rat has stolen our candle, and I paid a whole penny for it too. Oh, the bad rats, cried Babette, bursting into tears. She stamped her foot and sent the jack-o'-lantern rolling off the bench. It struck the earth with a bump and dented its nose a trifle. Now, Babette, what a baby you are! See what you've done, cried Anton. He stooped to pick up the pumpkin, but the pumpkin was too quick for him. Oh, no, you don't, laughed Pumpkin in a thick, throaty sort of voice. Babette smashed my nose a little, but that's no matter on a Halloween night. Goodbye, boys and girls, he called airily and rolled swiftly down the hill. You come back here! You're my pumpkin! cried Anton and started after the runaway. Babette followed, weeping and crying aloud. Oh, my Halloween frolic! My Halloween frolic! She mourned. Now we have no jack-o'-lantern and no candle either. But just you wait until he rolls down into the vegetable garden, shouted Anton as he chased the swiftly rolling pumpkin. He'll have to stop at the hedge. He took his little sister's hand that she might run faster. Pumpkin rolled along just in front of them, but always just out of their reach. When he reached the hedge, he gave a great leap and landed directly in the vegetable patch. Come on, you turnips! Come on, you carrots! Called Pumpkin as he rolled along. At his words, the carrots and turnips tore themselves from their beds and followed after him, shouting. Come on, called Pumpkin, and parsnips and beets followed the carrots and turnips. Look at Anton following us, yelled Pumpkin, and all his vegetable followers turned and laughed in derision. Ordinary nights you may be, Master Anton, cried they, but not on Halloween. This is our night. Well, you wait until I catch you, and then see how hard you'll laugh, called Anton angrily. To see his vegetable patch laid waste made him furious. But you'll wait until you catch us before you punish us, won't you, Anton? They answered mockingly. Oh, it's Halloween, sang Pumpkin, turning handsprings as he rolled along, and the rest of the vegetables did cartwheels as they went careening after him. They looked like a dozen market stalls upset on the hillside, and poor Anton nearly wept when he thought of his loss. He followed them with determination. Anton was not a lad to give up easily.